Dre with Yourself.Podcast, and I hope everybody is doing well today. I know the weather is crazy in some parts of the country, and I hope everybody is staying safe and warm and cozy inside with some comfort food, and that, yeah, that you're staying warm. I feel kind of bad because here in Las Vegas we don't have extreme weather, so I don't get to experience that, but I assume people who live in those areas are pretty much done with the snow and the cold and everything else. So, um, today's guest is actually Nini, who lives somewhat in those areas that's been affected by the weather. And thank you, Nini, for your time today and for your vulnerability to come on and speak about your life challenge that you've recently, well, not recently, but from what I understand, you've had it for a few years now. Um, can you can you tell us what chronic illness you have and how it started?
Sure. And hey, Dre, thank you for having me. So basically, I have long COVID. It's a basically someone who got COVID and never got better or they got worse after having COVID. And it's considered chronic illness, which means longer than, I think it's a year period. I think they said at least a year. And chronic means also that there is no cure for it.
So
Yeah.
there, um, there's no. Did you recently have COVID too?
Yes, sadly.
So were you able to get the antibiotic,
The antiviral, yes.
antiviral?
And that's only due to the fact that I already had long COVID. Um, because of my age, technically they would only give someone 65 and older or somebody that's already established with a chronic illness uh, or have uh, auto no, not autoimmune, but immunosuppression already, meaning that their immune system is already compromised to where it makes it easier for them to get sick, sadly.
Oh, okay. So that when did you realize that it wasn't like a temporary condition?
When I first got sick that caused the long COVID,
Mm.
that was December 26, 2021, the day I got sick. Um, it wasn't until I would say approximately within 3 months of that time frame that's when we realized that it was long term. um and what's crazy is that the first 2 weeks I was sick. I had like severe headache, like worse than any other migraine I ever had in my life. And I didn't have the shortness of breath at that time, which is crazy. That's the only reason I didn't go to the hospital, because for 2 weeks straight, I was really sick and down with the headache and the fever. Like my fever was running like 103, 103.5, which should have been at the hospital. But, at that time, it was very difficult to navigate that because
Mm-hmm.
it was scary to even think about going to the hospital. But um, after the 2 week period, I'll never forget, it was the UGA National Championship, and I felt okay enough to watch it. And they won, and we went to go to the sports store to get the memorabilia, the T-shirts, and it was kind of chilly that night. I think it was like 31 degrees outside, and I just had on jeans and a long sleeve. And I'm standing outside, and I'm like, man, my legs don't feel right. They're they just felt really cold in the front of my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And that continued on like even after that night. And I was like, man, did I really get that cold that this coldness is not going away from my body. And it turns out that that was the beginning of like the pins and needles experience for the numbness in like the front half of my body. And that has never gone away with internal tremors. So it was about at the 3 month mark after that that we started piecing together all of these things that it was all related to that COVID infection. And
So
so
when you contracted uh, long COVID, were you affected by other um, symptoms or diseases such as the ME, CFS, or POTS? And for those who don't know, ME, CFS is my. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to say these words. Um, myologic enso- encephalomitis.
encephalitis, yeah.
Encephalomitis.
Um, it's yes, I definitely have. I believe with all of my heart that I do have ME/CFS. However, we don't have enough medical doctors that specialize in that arena to properly diagnose. I have recently just got diagnosed with dysautonomia, which is the dysfunction of the nervous system, and the symptoms from that are tremendous. Like I have to be careful pretty much with everything that I do in my life now. I can't shower, I can't without assistance. Um, I can feel faint at a moment's notice. I have to have help with basic things like I can't cook or clean by myself. You know, I can do very, very, very minor things. And as you can, I don't know if you can tell, Dre, or the people watching can tell, is even just me speaking right now, there's a change in my breathing. My body is interpreting that I'm doing too much. And um, my heart rate right now, as I sit here talking to you, is 120 beats per minute. And I'm literally doing nothing. I'm laying down actually. I didn't want to lay down for the interview.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lay down for the interview, but
Well, you
I
got to do what
figured
you got to do,
that
Yeah.
it would be better so that my symptoms aren't flaring up, you know.
Mm.
But yes, I have the pause, I have dysautonomia, I have insomnia, and sometimes that swings to hypersomnia. Like there are times that all I can do is sleep because the main thing for me, and it differs from every long COVID person or long hauler or post COVID syndrome, there's so many names for it. That's also the problem. But it differs for everyone, and it's an invisible disability for most. And yes, it has disabled me, sadly. Um, that's been the hardest part.
I was reading. I was reading about the symptoms that myalgic and
You can call it MECFS.
CFS.
It's because I
Um,
have a hard time pronouncing it unless I'm like actually looking at it. And I apologize because I'm not even. This is actually this is part of my symptoms. Like I'm not trying to cry right now, like in the sense of crying, period. But because I'm so passionate about what we're speaking right now, my body is interpreting that as if I'm too excited or too something. So it's causing me to look like I'm crying, but I'm not crying. And I can't stop it.
you're not
Oh,
crying. I'm not
oh.
crying. We're not crying.
Oh, there's Charlie. Charlie, I'm okay. See,
Is the improv extra special guest?
it. Thank you. I'm okay. See, she's worried too now.
Well, I
And
think,
my heart rate probably, yeah,
yeah.
my heart rate changed because I also just got in that instance that the tears started and I threw my glasses down. I got angry because of that happening, and so it's yeah. So I'm gonna leave my glasses off for now. But you were asking about
Well, why does that make
Simple as that.
why does that make you angry?
Because it's out of my control, like completely out of my control. And for me, it's made it that this simply happening, like me not being able to in the redness, that's even another thing that I have that I didn't that I was meant to mention that was caused directly by getting infected with COVID is mast cell activation syndrome. And so the redness that you see, too, a lot of that can happen from just being around somebody with perfume, or it affects you like in an
Mm-hmm.
asthmatic way, or have an allergic reaction, or whatever. But the main thing, the reason it makes me upset is because it's not something that I'm doing intentionally. It's like it's just happened. Like it's completely out of my control. And for people that know me, I'm already an emotional person because I'm
Mm-hmm.
Pisces, I guess, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I am in control of my feelings, if that makes sense. So, like, for me to just, I do get to moments where if I'm passionate, I do cry. But since I have been sick, and it's actually been 4 years now that I've been sick, sadly, um, I have one thing that I've had to do to try to live my life and not have symptoms randomly flare up to where it puts me down and make me completely bedridden for weeks is I have to remain calm. Can you imagine having to absolutely remain calm 24/7? Not too happy, not too sad, not too excited, not angry. That's how I have that's what has helped me the most, and that's part of the autonomic dysfunction of the nervous system.
So if you don't have those emotions, you won't have a flare up. Is that what you're saying?
It increases the
Oh,
flare-ups.
it
It's not that I
increases.
won't have them, it can make those flare-ups worse.
I see.
And I feel that that has impacted my relationships tremendously because I can't be, this super happy active person that I was before. And
Mm-hmm.
that's out of my control, because like I'm not saying I was a life of the party before I got sick, but I was I was extremely involved, with some of everything, like at work with all of my friends. And like I had a huge, what I would consider, personal social grid across the country and the world, not even just and and that's been what I think, aside from not being able to drive, the hardest part of the loss due to the chronic illness is losing those connections. Because and now I am crying for real.
It's okay.
That's been the hardest part
Mm-hmm.
because people don't understand it, because people don't know how to react to it, because they don't know the depth of it, because there's so much misinformation about it, and it directly correlates with stigma on masking. And masking has saved my life. Like, I don't have one on right now because I'm home alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I mask, I would say, 98% of everywhere I go.
That
And
was
that's the only reason why I just got caught COVID again for Christmas, so that I made it 2 years since last having it. So I had it in 2021, and I had it in so December 2021, September 2023 after going to a doctor's appointment, and then December 24th, 2020.
oh,
But
so
my
that was
symptoms
very
have
recent.
been
Very recent.
Yeah. But my symptoms since that very first infection in December 2021 have been massive.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to kind of get some info on it because I did a little bit of research and saw that the significance overlap with long COVID. They experience fatigue, um, cognitive dysfunction, sleeping problems, insomnia. Um, and there was another symptom that I'm not sure if you have it or not, or if you're familiar with it, but it was called post external malaise.
Post exertional malaise. Yeah.
Exertional malaise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And that's one of my prominent symptoms. And
How does that
post
come about?
exertional malaise is basically where, like, as everyone sees, I have a dog. Um, I can't walk more than probably at this time. I think I've made it up to like 20 steps.
Hmm.
Longer than that without having to stop and catch my breath. However, like let's say we have a whole day, I go to doctor's appointments, I have to walk all different ways or whatever, and the do those things. Just normal doctor's appointment,
Hmm.
and someone take me, drop me off, pick me up, and we come back home. For a normal person, that would be okay. However, it could cause me to be down just from that little bit of activity for a week, 2 weeks. And a good example is I've been in physical therapy since October because I tripped over the couch and
Yeah.
messed up a lot of stuff. And just going from to those physical therapy appointments once a week, only once a week, which that's minimal. Um, I never really fully recover from that before the next one comes. So it's
Yeah.
a rolling thing and it's delayed. It's delayed. So like you may feel okay today, but you may wake up, even a couple of hours from now and you feel like a truck hit you and you can't move. You can't walk, you can't think. It affects my cognitive tremendously. And sometimes I can't speak. Today is a good day. Sometimes I can't get the words out. I sound like Bernie Mac when you did that stuttering joke with the school bus. It just depends.
And there was another thing that I found um, that you mentioned too a little bit ago was your respiratory system. That you can walk a few steps and be completely out of breath, or just move from one chair to another or something, and your breathing is like you just walked 5 miles and then came home and sat down and you're calming down. I've heard you where you've been out of breath. So, that along with the brain fog, do you also have the um, like heart palpitations as well?
Yes, and that feels really gross. The palpitations, like I can feel, I think because since I've been sick, I've gotten so used to my heart rate being high. Like I can sit up and I'm at 100 already. I can
Mm-hmm.
go to stand up and I'm at 120. I can go walk a few steps and I'm at 150, 160. And that's actually a lot of people are worse than that. But when it gets back down into the 60s, I literally feel it feels like a sinking. And it's a like you can feel it going back down and it's gross. But yes, I deal with that every day and I literally just felt it because I wish I could show you this. Let me see. Maybe not. But my heart rate now just dropped back down to like 70 and I can feel it. It's kind of like when you're on a roller coaster and you that dip down, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of you feeling it in your stomach, you literally feel it in your chest.
No.
And one thing I wanted to mention real quickly, you mentioned respiratory. So my shortness of breath, they don't attribute it to any lung issues. Like I've had 4 different types of pulmonary function testing, and it all comes back normal. I've been to two different pulmonary. That's one thing too. Another thing with the testing is that the traditional tests show normal. So when the doctor sees that, they're like, "Oh, nothing is wrong with you," or they gaslight you tremendously
That's
because they're looking at that old format.
that's what I was going to ask you. Like, have you found any doctor that has actually heard you out and listened to you to say, let me explore a little bit more than what other doctors have done with you?
So the count, if I'm recalling everyone at this point, I'm about at I think 30 specialists, not just doctors, specialists. And out of that 30, three of them have been willing to listen and to even if it's not their suggestion, they're like, okay, well, we can try these things. And um, recently, that's how I got my POTS diagnosis with the dysautonomia and the basal vagal syncope and mast cell activation. I finally saw this doctor I've been waiting on for 3 years. It was almost four because they weren't supposed to see me until October 2026, but I got in on a cancellation. But it was a cardiologist and he listened. And even though it wasn't his specialty initially, when COVID, I don't know how long he specialized in dysautonomia, but he finally was like, look, we have a area where there's a need, and he took it upon himself to learn and go through the studies and certifications and research and things like that. But I've had to lean on groups online to where everybody piggyback off each other and say, hey, this has worked for me. I talked to this doctor and we tried this and this didn't work. It made it worse. And that's what's gotten me through the last, 4 years, and we have people that's been dealing with it for at least for 6 years, at least. So I could not imagine having been one of those people. And really the only reason I knew to push is because I was in medical arena before I got sick. I worked for cardiology and I knew what we were seeing before it disabled me, and I knew to push. And I continue to push even though I'm completely wiped out with appointments. I'm so tired. I want to give up because there's still no answers.
Hmm.
To this day, I still have there's no cure. There's no, what they're doing is they're treating your symptoms,
Hmm.
and they're trying to use approaches that have worked in the past for other autoimmune conditions and things like that. But it's so new, it's so new that they don't have answers. But I'm grateful for the doctors that continue to push research and the ones that are trying to find answers and that are willing to listen, because even if it's a doctor that isn't specialized, them being willing to listen and take the approaches that others are, it's helpful because at least in my eyes, until they're able to find answers, at least those things are being done to try to help rule out or help alleviate the pain that we're in constantly, or the symptoms, and to have a better quality of life while we're still dealing with this.
Yeah. Um, One thing I was going to ask you too, um, which was how has the chronic illness and the long COVID and everything else that you've been dealing with, how has that affected your friendships and your family dynamics?
It's been the complete 180. Um, as I mentioned earlier, I had what I thought was a tremendous network, and I'm grateful because COVID did cause me to end up having to have brain surgery. And when I went out for the brain surgery, everybody, pulled together, and one of my best friends set up a GoFundMe and they helped get me through that time. And I'm tremendously and forever grateful for every single person that shared and contributed and did all of those things. But over time, and it wasn't slow, it was very quickly, I lost that network because it's kind of, I feel like, and maybe people will let me know, I felt like it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind because I I don't know if it was people were so used to me being around and like I always come to a lot of people. Where I live, I'm not in the epicenter of all my friends anymore. I live like at 45 minutes east, but no one comes east. So I barely see people unless it's a concerted effort to push and say, hey, okay, can we make plans for this day and do this? Or even if, we go that way to go grocery shopping, like I'll I'll say, hey, we're gonna go grocery shopping. Can I see you for a sec? Even if it's 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people are used to me being the one to always come to everybody. And so that's been really hard. In my family, I have one family member here where I live in the state. And um they make effort but they're quite close. Um they make the effort to check on me, periodically and see if I need anything, you know. But I miss the physical, face to face part of it. Which I understand. I know that like with one of my really close friends, she's scared that because she has kids, that if she was to be around me, that she potentially would cause me to get sick, but she's also willing to mask up around me. There are things that can be done, to where we can still be around each other and hang out and stuff, but I think that I don't know if I don't know what the and I chalked it up for a long time to just that people are busy, because I know everybody has their own lives, that they're own dealing with their own things, their good days and their bad days and their accomplishments and their kids and all of those things. Um, so I do understand that part, but I also feel like I'm just being passed by.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that I'm watching TV, like watching a movie where everyone's continuing to go on. And I do have those friends that check in, constantly, but a lot of them are in the same position, chronically ill. So we have to be even more careful about us hanging out, or, they can't drive. And so it adds another factor of trying to hang out, and making it difficult. So and then navigating around all of the appointments because I have a lot of appointments. Like currently, I'm in two different physical therapy programs, and that ties up. Technically, it's supposed to be 3 days a week, if I can handle it. And I'm seeing cardiology. I'm about to hopefully get into a long COVID doctor in March, which I've been waiting this entire time to get into a program for that. But it's trying to navigate around all of that and the distances in between. Like a lot of my doctors are in the city. It's an hour to 2 hours to go, depending on the time of the day. So it's a lot to navigate. Like I literally feel like I'm still working a full-time job 4 years later to navigate everything.
Yeah. That that just it all concerns me because reading about some of the coping skills that you can have is they seem kind of far fetched because you're so deep into the problem. But a lot of it says visualization uh, with mental memory. So basically, it's taking something sentimental. Say it's a totem on your on your art page or your art account, and you see this image that you want to be like, manifest it. I think it won't cure your problem, but at least you can trick your brain into thinking that, hey, you know what? Today's a good day. I'm going to be strong like this. I'm going to do this. But at the same time, I can sympathize with you, not empathize, because I've never been in that situation. But when you sympathize with somebody, you see what they're going through. You see that you don't want to go through that. And you see that you need to get the right physician, get the right hospital, and um, if you could tell me, one of the questions I had was, do you feel crashes and then like like when your flares come up, you don't feel like doing much, but do you ever get like the opposite where you feel like, oh, I'm all energized. I'm going to do, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do art, or I want to clean the house or take a shower or something, that will help you um, mentally.
Mentally, I'm there every day. Like so I know a lot of people deal with depression and stuff behind this, and I know that I am too, but I don't feel like I spoke in my depression, like, because I know that I have to be very careful about like how I feel because of it'll make me worse, literally. But yes, the days where I feel like I do have the capacity to do something, even if it's not, you know, at what a true baseline for someone would be, I do those things. I know going into it, I know already that I'm going to cause myself to feel worse. Like there's a given. It does not matter what I do.
Mm,
Even if I was to walk Charlie around the yard, which I do try to do so I could be in the sun, but that's very limited. But yeah, I try all the time, and I know that it's in the back of my mind. I'm going to, even even on the days that I do feel like I have the energy, I know that I'm going to crash. And I hate to call it crash because they have this thing where be like, oh, I'm gonna crash out, I'm gonna crash out. It's not the same thing. It's totally different, but it puts you down like to be bedridden or housebound 90% of the time. And um I I I would love to do more. Like I have the ambition, like I it's it's tough to not. So for people that don't know me, prior to, even after I had long COVID, but um so after my first infection, it actually caused me to have brain surgery.
mm,
Um all the way up until my brain surgery, I was still fairly, I wasn't as bad as I am today.
mm-hmm.
I feel like I've progressively gotten worse. But I was a very active person prior to all this. So you can imagine you're able to do all of these things, and then bam,
Nothing.
you can
Yeah.
barely do anything.
Yeah.
And so mentally dealing with that is tremendous. As far as like as because you're in a constant seesaw thing where you're like, okay, well, today I want to try to take a shower by myself.
Mm,
um, and just simply taking a shower can take all my energy, especially if I do it by myself. But I also have to worry about the pot symptoms when I take a shower. If I'm trying to take one by myself, I have to sit down on the floor
mm-hmm.
because that way, if I do faint, I'm not falling out the shower.
Yeah.
Um, but but I miss all my activities. And one thing that I can't do right now is drive because my vision, it messed up my vision. My peripheral vision is messed up, but also the cognitive weight of things. So like the body is over processing multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
So me simply talking to you, my body thinks that it can react as if I just ran a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's not even nearly a fraction of what I've done. And so when I do feel like I have energy, sometimes I'll do as if I'm not ill at all because I got to the point this last year in 2025, when I made it 2 years post brain surgery. I said, okay, you know, I've had my new life, after waking up from being under 2 years now. In those 2 years, I was completely afraid to live my life in the way of being out amongst people. Like I had a very small amount of people that I allowed myself to be around. And um, one was my one wheel crew that I was a part of prior to me getting so sick. And that was a lifesaver. I haven't been able to do that at all. I haven't been able to do that at all. But I can't stand walk long distance. But I could at some point ride my one wheel. And that was my lifesaver because we used to hike and we used to hike and go camping and like literally every every what's it called, like here where I live we have a lot of um mountains, and up north there are mountains I should say, and we would literally take hikes, and there would always be either a beautiful vista or a waterfall at the top of those hikes. And I haven't been able to do that. I think I've tried once. I think I tried once within the last 2 years. It's still too much though. It's tremendous. But um I try to do what I can as much as I can, and I depend on my art a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I gotta get up for a second because Charlie's acting like somebody's here. But okay, so um um I try to do as much as I can, and I lean on my art and stuff like that now to to get through. I'm trying to make sure I don't step on my glasses if they still. I'm so sorry. I had to get up. I was trying to not. I had her with me so
Oh,
that she
that's
wouldn't be barking somewhere else.
that's okay. Um, One of the last things I want to go over is what do you think helps you, or what do you think would help you when you feel alone? Like when you feel like, I know you're physically alone right now in the house, but when you're emotionally feeling alone, like no one understands what what you're going through. Not a lot of people can empathize with that because they've never, either they've forgotten about the pandemic, or they've just moved on with their lives. Some people who even had COVID before, they're like, "Whew, I had it. It was the worst thing ever, but thank goodness for the antiviral, and I'm done." And a lot of people forget that there are people like you with long COVID, and I know someone personally with long COVID, and I think about how, in itself, it has to affect your mental health because one, you have no energy to leave the house, you have no energy to socialize, and your Sometimes people, when they have a chronic illness or something bad happens in their life, they have friends who say, call me whenever you need anything and I'll be there. If you need to talk, if you needed this, and if you needed that. But I've come to find out that when you're the person who's suffering, those people don't really reach out to you and they're waiting for you to reach out to them. But even the times when I've been there like that, I've tried to reach out to the people that said, whatever you need. And I've tried to reach out and they're like, oh, this is a bad week, or I have to work, or I have to do this. And there's all these reasons why they can't help me or can't just come and sit with me. What makes you feel less alone, or what could help you feel less alone when you're in your mind, in your own, loneliness about with the illness, even though that you may have a house full of people, but you still feel that aloneness because you're seeing them do their everyday thing, and you get tired, or your oxygen level goes up, or your heart rate goes up really high just by, like you said, just by sitting up. What do you think would help you to feel less alone during those times?
Um, well, if there's no one available, um, I the only thing I have to lean on is the fact that I'm still here. Like I just keep reminding myself that literally every single day that I wake up is a blessing, whether you believe in God or not, or the universe or whatever it is. Like I don't even I used to be so bad about putting like deadlines and
Mm,
expectations on myself because things had to be perfect,
mm,
or go a certain way or whatever. But because of how things have gone, if you asked me this question like 2 years ago, I probably would give you a different answer. But I made the conscious decision to really. It's very rare that I allow myself to feel alone in that way because I don't. I don't allow. I try not to allow myself to think that because I'm not. I know that I'm not. I know that I'm not alone.
mm,
And if I can't reach out to any of my friends or whoever, um, I try to distract myself. Like do art or crochet if my hands aren't hurting too bad, or even just go sit outside in the sun.
mm.
Or but I try to just do my best to stay busy. I try not to think about it because, believe it or not, most of the time I don't talk about being sick
Yeah,
because when I verbalize it, it makes it more real for me. Like I have a really hard time when I go to my doctors because then I'm like really like they ask me the questions and I'm like have to be careful about telling them like dumping on them even though I'm being honest about my symptoms, because I can have anywhere upwards of 50 symptoms in a day. And I have to track this stuff because if you don't track it, they don't believe it. Like you have to physically show them proof, which is crazy.
yeah,
But I do my best to just stay in a positive mindset. And if I'm struggling with that, I do have some friends that no matter what, if I call them, they will they if they can't answer right then and there, they will make sure that they at least call me back that day. And they even have it to where if they don't call me back in 30 minutes, they like call me again because if I got too busy to call you right back, I don't want to forget. So I have a network, a tiny network of friends that at some point there will be somebody, but I do lean on my groups. I lean on TikTok a lot. Like I try to, that's been kind of my saving grace because I was really reluctant to get on TikTok, and I accidentally found TikTok after my brain surgery because I was researching COVID and all the long COVID symptoms and stuff, and I kept coming across people that were dealing with the same thing, and it helped. It sucks. It sucks to be dealing with the same thing, but it helps to know that you are not alone. And um, I've joined groups on Facebook, and you know, there that's a quick way that if you start feeling alone, people there will respond because they're dealing with the same thing and they
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to feel alone. You know, so
Yeah.
it's been a it's been a mishmash of ways to try to navigate that, but the main thing that I've reached for myself and anybody else that I know that's simply chronically ill, not just dealing with long COVID, because people have been disabled from stuff their entire lives. You know, I always push positivity. I always push reaching out to people and talking because sometimes even if you don't have anybody to talk to, if people know that you're dealing with something, they're more hopefully more willing to open up to you about the things that they're going through, or or they'll be willing to listen to you if that makes sense. Like even if they don't want to talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope I'm answering your question. I know that I
Yeah.
can. I have a really hard time.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you feel that you could always reach out to me personally, reach out to this podcast personally. We can go in deeper into other issues that affect your health, your mental health. Um, try some unconventional healing, at least for your mental health, because I know that when someone is so sick, it can mess with your mind so much, and then you feel isolated from everybody
Mhm.
else who's going on with their lives, and they um, it's easy to say, yeah, it's very easy to say, call me when you need me, and then when you call to you get it's hard enough to get vulnerable to call, and then they say, oh well, I can't this week, maybe I can do it next week, but I'm not too sure. And it's like, well, you told me to call you when I needed you. I need you now.
Mhm.
And so I think that that also affects the mental health part, because then you have to deal with not only the loneliness but the rejection of it. And
Right.
but I hope that I'm gonna try and do some more research on this, because it just strikes me that I found some small coping skills that I can probably explain to you, but I'm sure you've done your research as well. But it just puzzles me that this pandemic came and went, but
It's
yet,
still here.
but yeah,
It's still here.
well, yeah, but I'm saying not to like when we first had the lockdown,
Right. Right. Right.
um, and there's people like you who are still dealing with the issues from the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And why is it that it's been 4 or 5 years now, 5 years now,
Six.
or yeah, going on, yeah, so this is 6 years, we're in 2026, and they still cannot figure out how to get rid of long COVID? I mean, I think I mean, it's almost ridiculous to me, but at the same time, without getting into politics or anything like that, I do believe that pharmaceutical companies, doctors, um, insurances are all linked together because they all get a piece of the sickness monetarily. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the longer you stay sick, the longer you'll need medicine, the longer you'll need the doctor visits, the longer. And instead of finding a cure, and working with patients that way, it seems that the first route is more beneficial to higher people that rule the nation and or the
Yeah.
world globally. And so I really appreciate you being so vulnerable and telling us more.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and telling us more about h- how this all works, because when I first spoke to you, I was like, "Well, what is this? What's that? What's it?" And I did my research, and I thought, "Wow, that I didn't realize you were dealing with so much. I knew you were dealing with a lot, but I didn't realize the depth and the detail of your everyday, moment by moment lifestyle that you have to live right
Mhm.
now, and especially with kind of like no hope because." They're saying, oh, well, there's no solution, there's no cure, there's nothing we can do about it. We can treat it, but that's. And it's kind of like, people lose hope and people can do crazy things when they don't have hope. And I hope that you can be, hopefully, we'll have viewers to watch this episode who are going through the same thing and keep their hope alive that somehow, some way, there'll be an answer to cure the long COVID, to kill off those additional symptoms. But I I I don't want to sound cliche and say you can call on me anytime you want. But I I I do tell my guests that I am available: TikTok, Instagram, email, on YouTube, and all you have to do is type out what you need, and I will try my best to to be there. Um, if you ever need to do another podcast to talk a little bit more about it, and it's 20 minutes before I have to post, then we'll record 20 minutes before we have to post. I have no problem in adjusting the time. I do try to have that consistency just for our listeners and our watchers, um, or our viewers. But to me, it it's more important to hear the person out than to match my deadlines, because
Right.
I feel that there's a lot of people who are in your situation who have not been heard and who have not been listened to. And I didn't think that I would ever, I even with the person that I know here locally who has long COVID, I didn't understand. I just thought, well, she's on oxygen. Can't she just bring her oxygen to wherever she needs to go? But I didn't realize that sometimes just going from one chair to the next, it just drains you out. I didn't know a lot of the
Mhm.
things that you were explaining. So, um, I hope to have you back. I hope to see if there's any improvement. I hope to see if you found, or if I have found some coping skills that maybe you haven't found that might help you. Just sometimes you got to take life moment by moment. Um, but I would like to speak to you again about it, and whenever you have time and whenever you feel healthy enough. And I just appreciate you and your time and your vulnerability to come on here and share your situation with so many, whoever end up watching this. But I really,
Certainly, and thank you. Thank
yeah.
you for doing this platform. It's tremendous what you do, and I know it takes a lot of work and a very caring person to do what you do.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I wish you a good rest of the
And I'll
day.
be back. Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll be back. I'll be
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Whether it's this topic or something else, because life has been crazy, but
Yeah.
we'll
And that's what we're here for. I encourage people to come back, because there's different things that come out rooted from other things. And so I encourage people to come back and discuss whatever they need to discuss. And I try to do the best research I can and come up with some really good coping skills or some questions that maybe might, you know, juggle your memory and say, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe I need to revisit that, and try to see if it helps. But you're welcome back anytime. And I believe that you are a very genuine, loyal, sincere person, and you don't find that very often. I found that in this video and just with this podcast, you've explained everything without even mentioning that woe is me. You just told us what was wrong. Yes, you got a little emotional, but that's natural. But I didn't feel that you're like, woe is me, please have pity on me, please do that. I didn't feel that from you. And that tells me that you still have a lot of strength in you to keep going and to keep your fight strong. And I hope to be side by side with you on that fight.
That's the plan.
Okay.
As long as I can. As long as I can. But thank you. And I'll see you around.
Okay. You take it easy today.
Take care.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. Well, we really want to appreciate or show our appreciation for Nini. She is a strong soul, and she has a lot of strength that I believe she doesn't give herself enough credit for. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode, have taken away something from this episode to have a little bit more empathy and a little bit more patience with people who carry their pain so deep and mask their sickness or their illness or their pain as well, and don't reach out because they don't want to be a burden. But remember, if you serve somebody who is sick, you'll learn that it's not a burden. You'll learn that if you go out to serve someone, you too will be blessed in your life. You too shall receive lightness in your life and help with things that you need help with. So just try to remember that. And I challenge you to think about your friends or your family members who are chronically sick. And maybe you're just, a lot of times you do get worn out. You do get caregiver fatigue. That is a thing. But just maybe try this week to have a little bit more patience with that person, because we don't really know what it is that they're going through. I deeply care about my guests. I deeply sympathize and empathize with a lot of them because I've been through some of the issues that they've been through. I haven't been through all the issues that all my guests have been through, but I do have sympathy for them, and I hope and I want to send out the most positive vibes and mojo that you need, the good mojo that you need to survive another day, to survive another moment, to survive another second, and try to rest your body, rest your mind. Try not to hurry through your day because life is short anyway. And I hope that you continue to follow our journey with Yourself.Podcast. And if you'd like to be a guest, there are several ways you can contact us. You can contact us through regular old email at braceyourmentalhealth at gmail.com. You can find us on TikTok as braceyourself.podcast, same as on Instagram, and send us a DM. Send us a DM with your questions. Send us messages with what would you like to listen to in our next episodes, in our episodes to come. We also are reaching the end of our waiting list that we've had. So now it would be a great time to reach out to us and to let us know that what your issue is and what you'd like to discuss so we can get you on the next waiting list and go from there. And hopefully we can connect and we can help each other because we're just regular people helping regular people out. And I wish you all a good day, a healthy day. And again, I'm Dre with Brace Yourself.Podcast.